great turnout today. I haven't seen this room this full since I interviewed for the job of years ago. And it's really, really a privilege and a pleasure to welcome all of you to our second annual Phil's Day celebration. I want to extend my appreciation to everyone at the UI Foundation and beyond who've made this important and uplifting day possible. And I thank all of you especially for coming to hear what I know will be an inspiring talk on Life with Phil from our guest today, Janice Ellig. I hope you've all been able to participate in some of the Phil's Day activities. We probably should have planned them for Monday and Tuesday of this week when we were actually having spring. Yesterday we had summer, and today we seem to be back in winter, so welcome to Iowa. But the Phil's Day activities are really hard to miss. In fact, my husband, when he woke up this morning and was getting his coffee, mentioned to me that there were some young people out in front of our house putting yellow ribbons and signs and things in front of our home, and it was really a joy to see as I drove by the house a little later. It is remarkable. The activities are hard to miss. The bows around campus, reminding us how widespread and important philanthropy is in the life and the work of the University of Iowa. And it's always a pleasure to see this. I was just given a hard hat tour of the Papa John Biomedical Discovery Building, another building that when it's completed will have lots of yellow on it during Phil's Day. And I could see the Phil on the lawn just behind us. If you haven't seen that, it's particularly spectacular. I also hope you've had a chance to sign a postcard today if you're a student. This is really important. These postcards thank our generous supporters and donors for all they do to help us meet our goals and aspirations and to make a UI education the absolute best that it can be. There's still a lot of the day left, so if you haven't seen some of these things or filled out a postcard, there's plenty of time left to do that. And I love the fact that so many of you are wearing the I Am Phil sticker to show your support of this celebration and of the impact that philanthropy has on our campus and in all of our lives. Today we want the entire university community, and especially our students, to feel in real ways the power of philanthropy and the direct role that it plays in the learning, discovery, and engagement that we practice every day here at the University of Iowa. One of the most important and rewarding parts of my job as president is building relationships with our alumni, our friends, and our donors. When I meet with these wonderful supporters, I realize how passionate they are about the University of Iowa. And it truly is fun to have conversations with folks about this. Philanthropy is certainly about raising funds, but it is also about sharing a vision. The opportunities that I have to share my vision with them are actually magnified by their sharing their vision with me. It's my task, it's my privilege to help the university and those who so enthusiastically support us come together to make our mutual dreams and aspirations a reality. Now, I'm very personally thrilled to have Janice Ellig with us today. She will share some thoughts about her experience with philanthropy and show us how profoundly it can have and make an impact on our lives. Janice is a dedicated UI alumna. She received a BBA degree in marketing from the University of Iowa in 1968, and then went on to earn an MA in organizational development from Rider University in 1978. Her successful business career has included roles with companies such as Pfizer, Citibank, and Ambac Financial Group. That's hard to say. Since 2000, she's been co-CEO of Chadick Ellig, a successful executive search firm in New York City. Janice has been especially devoted to expanding women and minority representation in business leadership. No small task. Co-author of 2 books on career advancement, she's also brought her talents back home to Iowa by being instrumental in creating the first Iowa Women's Leadership Conference in 2007. And Janice, we just completed another very successful Women's Leadership Conference just last week. It was wonderful. Janice is currently serving on the board of directors of the National YMCA and has served on the board of the YMCA of Greater New York. She has the distinction of being the first woman to hold the position of chair of that board in the organization's 155-year history. Now, she wasn't on the board for the whole 155 years. She has been a very special friend to the University of Iowa, and she's a very special example of someone who gives back generously in many, many ways. She's a member of our foundation board of directors. She serves as co-chair of the For Iowa Forevermore comprehensive campaign that we're launching publicly just a little later this week, like tomorrow, and which you can learn more about after Janice's talk if you'll stay for the press conference. She has contributed to and performed service leadership roles for the College of Public Health, our Children's Hospital, and the Tippie College of Business. Janice also plays a key role as mentor to recipients of the Adrian Astolfi Edens Memorial Scholarship, which she established in memory of her sister in the UI College of Public Health's Department of Health Management and Policy. Many of her recipients have joined us here today. With her passion for education always at the forefront of her mind, Janice also has named a state-of-the-art classroom in the College of Public Health building. Clearly, Janice Ellig has led a remarkable career marked by innovation and giving back. So it's no surprise that she has earned numerous awards for her talents, her generosity, and her achievements, including the Unsung Hero Award by the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, the Dodge Award by the YMCA of Greater New York, and the University of Iowa Distinguished Alumni Service Award, and just a few weeks ago, the Hancher-Finkbein Medallion. We were very proud to recognize and thank Janice once again by bestowing on her that important recognition, that medallion. Now, before we hear from Janice, I would like to first introduce someone who has a special relationship with our distinguished guests. Denise Redding is a 2005 graduate of the University of Iowa. She earned a Master in Health Administration degree from the College of Public Health and a Master of Business Administration degree from the Tippie College of Business. Denise was a recipient of the Adrian Astolfi Edens Memorial Scholarship, which I just mentioned a few moments ago. And currently, she is an administrator with our UI Physicians Group. Please help me welcome Denise Redding.
Thank you, President Mason. I am very pleased to be here today to introduce to you a dedicated friend to the university and a wonderful mentor to many, including me. I first met Janice in 2003 after receiving the Adrian Astolfi Edens Health Management Scholarship, a fund that, as you've heard, Janice created in honor of her sister. And I was just beginning my dual degree here at the university in the College of Public Health and the Tippie School of Business. When I'd heard I received the scholarship, I was thrilled. It would be great help financially, as both my husband and I had come as graduate students here and were off on our adventure. So the financial help was wonderful. In addition to funding the scholarship award, Janice has arranged for my fellow awardees and I to travel to New York City, and this she has done on 2 occasions now. And it was great to see Janice in her element. She truly loves her city. We were able to see New York from the tourist perspective, but also had the chance to spend time with Janice and Bruce in their home discussing healthcare and sharing our thoughts on how we all wanted to change the world. To this date, I still keep in touch with the group of women. Many, as you heard, are here today. And each spring we have breakfast in Iowa City with Janice. And it's our tradition and a chance for us to get in touch with each other and catch up on what we're all accomplishing these days. Receiving the Adrian Astolfi Edens Health Management Scholarship was truly an honor, and back then, it was easy to focus on the financial support and how that would help me obtain my degree. But as I reflect now, I realized that the scholarship was about much more than money. It was about support and knowing someone was in my corner. Janice didn't just provide financial help for my education, she supported my dreams. She supported my wish to be a parent and have a career, as she created a network of supportive women, very special women who share my desire to change healthcare and who turn to each other for advice, understanding, and a boost of confidence. So when I think about Phil's Day and the Foundation's desire to raise awareness about the impact philanthropy has on our campus, I can think of no one better to talk to us. Thank you, Janice, for being a trusted mentor, a loyal Hawkeye, and for investing in the lives of so many young women. Your support means the world. Please join me in welcoming today's guest of honor, Janice Ellig.
I don't have anything else to say. That was marvelous, Denise. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sally. You know, the best thing is in life is being part of the University of Iowa. And when I came here so long ago, I didn't realize the impact it would have on me. And when I first came to the University of Iowa, you know, I did follow in my sister's footsteps. She had gone to a girls' school in the East, Briarcliff Junior College, for 2 years, and all of her credits transferred, and that's why she came here. And 8 years later, I followed her. And I really thought I would come here maybe for 2 years and then transfer back east. But I just so loved it and became part of the Chi Omega sorority. And, you know, you just got here in the Big Ten and going to the football games. It was just fabulous. But I didn't realize the impact it would have on me until I returned, but not until 30 years later. You know, I left Iowa and I didn't come back for 30 years. And people say, why? What happened? But the story was that a friend of mine asked me to come back to Iowa to speak at a business school seminar that was happening. And she said, you went here. Why aren't you here speaking at this business school? And I came back with her. And I'm speaking at the University of Iowa, and Tom DePringer hears me speaking, and he says, gee, you went here. And I said, yeah. I said, why haven't you been back in 30 years? And I said, I don't know. And he said, well, gee, and your sister went here. I said, yeah. And he said, well, what happened? And I said, well, unfortunately, she did pass away. And he said, well, gee, maybe we could do something to honor her memory. And that's when it all began. So I really have to thank Tom DePringer for getting me back to the University of Iowa 30 years later. But I'm going to come back to that story. So this is about philanthropy. And what I thought I would do is tell you a little bit about some of the charities I've been involved in over the past 30 years, mainly in New York, and then come to the University of Iowa and the philanthropy that I've been involved in here. In the last 3 weeks, I've been at Simmons College School of Management, women's education there, because I'm really deeply involved in the movement of women and getting to the top in the C-suite, in academia and in business and in the boardroom, because unfortunately, women's representation at those levels is still non-existent. So when you look at corporate America, only 17%, a little bit less, of women are represented in the boardroom, and that's not right. So I'm trying to do something about that. And then when you look at in academia as well, there's still not enough female presidents, but we have Sally Mason. And we have Lynette Marshall. So I think we're making better progress than some of the other universities. So that's really one of my passions. So that's why I'm really involved with Simmons College and on the advisory board there. And so that's one of my major, philanthropic efforts. And I've been up at the advisory board and recently up there. The other is the YMCA, and I am on the national board, but I spent 10 years on the New York City board, and I chaired the board for 2 years. And that was a major, major event for me, and defining moments there, because when you chair a board with a $160 million budget, and you follow a chair who is the CEO of Deloitte, and corporate governance is really big, you learn from somebody like that. And for me to have the honor of chairing the board of the YMCA of New York was a major event in my life and taught me so much, and with such a great group of people. And so I learned so much. And now I'm on the national board. So while I left the New York City Y board, I'm now on that board. And so that has been such a huge part of my life. And then to be president of the New York Women's Forum in New York, 460 top women in New York, by invitation only. They're top of their fields, and to chair that organization, and now to chair the Women's Corporate Initiative, which is about getting women on boards, is a big, big event for me. And so I'm really involved with that. So philanthropically, that's really important. And last but not least is the University of Iowa. To be on the University of Iowa Foundation Board with Lynette Marshall as the CEO and Tom Hansen as our chair is phenomenal. What an experience to have. You know, these are such an honor to be on the board of this organization and to learn. And now Kathy Zaharis is going to be coming in as our chair of the board. I'm on the board with phenomenal venture capitalists, business people. Patricia Tippie, your husband, you know, has done so much, and you have done so much for the University of Iowa, and sit next to your husband at the board meetings, and others who are on the board. I learn a lot. So to be reconnected to the University of Iowa after 30 years and to be philanthropically involved is an honor. And, you know, to give is really a gift, because I receive more than I give. And I have to tell you, being part of the University of Iowa is the biggest and greatest ride I have ever had in my life. It has given me a perspective. So little did I know when I became part of the University of Iowa so long ago as a student, and now to return, to get the perspective as an Easterner coming to the Midwest as a student changed my life. But it changed my life far more when I became part of the University of Iowa Foundation. So, you know, when I was growing up and came from a lower socioeconomic group, we did not have money. Both of my parents worked, but my mother and father raised us with some very strong values, a very strong moral compass. And you know, your parents all raised you with some very strong messages, right? Do you remember when you were 10 years old? Your parents gave you messages about life, what to do, right? And some of them you said, what? You want me to do what? And, you know, my mother was adored by my father, so she kind of ruled. And she said, I don't care if you get married, but you must be financially independent. And divorce never crossed her mind. It was always, he could die. You know, something could happen, he could die. You need to be financially independent. So you will have a career, and you must love that career, and you must always be sure that you take care of yourself. You have the means to take care of yourself. And you know, you have 2 older sisters, but you have to always be supportive of them as well. And that translated later in life that I must be supportive not just of my blood sisters, but of my sisters. And there goes where I am today, about being supportive of women. So that message in life to me was, I needed to get an education, and I needed to be supportive of my sisters, and I needed to be financially independent. And so in my career, when I left Iowa and came back to New York, and I was absent from Iowa for 30 years, I was always working. I was always in a career, and I started that career in the not-for-profit world. So I worked at a medical center in beautiful downtown Camden, New Jersey. Riots all the time. And I started out as an admitting director, and then they said, well, who knows everybody in the hospital? Because there's a union campaign here, and they're going to unionize, and we don't want that. So they made me the head of HR. I knew nothing about HR, but I kept the union off the scene. And I spent 8 years there, and I loved it. And so now when I do the head of HR, the search that I'm doing for New York Medical Center in New York City, I know what it is to be an HR director in a big medical center. So I had the not-for-profit experience. And then I went to Pfizer Corporation. And I was no longer number 1, and I didn't like that, but it was okay. I learned what it was to be in a big pharmaceutical company, and I now was in the for-profit world. And I was head of HR in one of the divisions. And it was good, but I wanted to now go into finance. And so I went to Citibank, and I loved that world because it was 1,000 flowers and grow the businesses and global world. And so I was in the for-profit, and now I'm in finance, and I love it. And they're going to do an IPO and spin a company off, and I get to go be the head of HR for a publicly traded company. And they spin off this company called Ambac Financial Group, which is now in bankruptcy because of the financial crisis, but that's okay. I'm number one of a financially traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. And again, I'm number one again, I love that. So I'm HR and marketing and facilities. So I'm now running HR, marketing, facilities. So I'm now in charge of bathrooms, bonuses, and brochures. But I'm number one, and I like it. And I'm sitting next to the chairman of the company, and I'm running things. And you know, I wrote 2 books during this time. Oh, can I have those books? And I had a ball. And I did this for 9 years. So now so did anybody have a birthday last week? Ah, you get a book. Anybody have a birthday this week? Oh, you get a book. You have a birthday? Coming up? And I'll sign it. Anybody have a birthday next week? I have 3 more books. In the next 2 weeks. Anyway, 2 more books. Yes, you do? Okay, here you go. Somebody else will get another book. Oh, and you get a book too. All right. So anyway, the next career I go into, though, is to be an entrepreneur. Because I decided that after writing these books, I really wanted to talk to people, women particularly, about how to move up in your career. And I thought the best thing that I could do was probably to go into executive search. Because when I was at Ambac Financial Group, they would call me the closer. I was able to close the deal. I was able to tell, the recruiting manager how to close the deal and to get the candidate who was in, yes, this is the compensation package and this is a good career, and to really get the deal closed. So I went into executive search, joined a major big search firm, Chadick and Struggles, but was there 6 months because I realized I again like to be number one. You have to know yourself. So I went to a smaller search firm called Gould McCoy Chadick, which became Gould McCoy Chadick and Ellig. The founders left. We chopped off their names. It became Chadick and Ellig. And I have had a ball for the last 13 years in my own search firm doing executive search. And what I have learned along the way in doing executive search is that nobody makes it in this life on your own. Everybody needs a helping hand. And so the other part of philanthropy is not just about writing a check. It's not just about money. It's about helping each other and supporting each other to get ahead in life, right? And how many of you here are where you are today because of somebody else who gave you the support, gave you the advice, helped you get to where you are today by, look at the hands going up, right? And so that's where, when I look at people and interview candidates today, I say to them, I take them back to high school, and many of them say, high school? Now, some of them were just out of high school. So it's sort of like, yes. And others, maybe it was 40 years ago. But really, people helped you in high school, formed you in high school and in college, and your professors here at the University of Iowa. And I was just talking to the Tippy School students, and you were talking to me about how you were helped by the different institutes that you're in at the Tippy School. Your advisors that come back to you and talk to you about how to get into the different careers that you're in. And that's so important, your advisors, because they're the ones that are going to direct you to what is best for you. And not just now, but in 3 years, because you know what? Your decisions today aren't necessarily where you're going to be tomorrow. You may change careers, as I changed careers, because I found out I like to run things. I don't want to work for somebody else. And Ryan, you were talking about your business. Where's Ryan? You may want to have your own business and not be running anybody. And Tyler, you may not want to be running in an investment bank. So everybody may change along the way. And my students, I call them my students, the Adrian Astolfi Edens graduate students in the School of Public Health. I'm so proud of everything that you're doing. Would you all stand up? You know, I could read their bios because they're so accomplished, but they're so accomplished it'll take a long time. But I want to tell you something that they did last year. They gave me this box which says, "For it is in giving that we receive," right? And they all contributed to the Adrian Astolfi Edens Scholarship Fund for the School of Public Health. Now, they're not all making a lot of money, but they all contributed something to the fund. And in that box, each of them wrote out, "A contribution in your honor has been given to the University of Iowa Foundation by," and each of them, the name is on there. And this means more to me than any gift I've ever received. Because it's not how much you give, but it's the thought of giving. And so these ladies, at their young ages, have already started their philanthropy to the University of Iowa. And that is really significant. And I applaud you. We learn a lot from you. You know, it starts at a young age, but it continues because it all comes from the heart early on. As I said, I didn't grow up with money, but my mother always gave something early on. And you will too. And when you have more money, you'll give more money. But it's not just the money, it's a simple thank you. It's visiting somebody in a hospital. It's baking a cake for somebody. It's having somebody over for dinner. I remember one time when I said to my parents, some kids are coming by from Iowa. It's, you know, they're going to stop by. And she said, "Oh, really? How many?" I said, 5. She said, "Oh, where are they staying?" I said, "Here." She said, "Oh." "And how long will they be here?" I said, 5 days. She said, "Okay." So anyway, you know, that's my story. You know, it's a simple one, but I am so honored and thrilled to be part of the University of Iowa, the foundation, and to be part of everything that happens here on campus. And Bruce, my husband, who unfortunately went to the University of Wisconsin. He's a Bucky Badger, but we make him an honorary Iowan, right? We take him to the airliner, which he loves. Yeah, we right. But he loves coming here, couldn't make it this time. And sometimes it's hard to get to Iowa, you know? In fact, 12 hours getting here yesterday. And one time, when I was so honored to be asked to do the commencement speech, and I didn't make it. Professor Nancy Hauserman had to give the speech for me. And then I was asked again in December to come back and give the speech. I made it, but it was a snowstorm. I made it in, and I barely made it out. But again, it was such an honor to be able to do that. So I'm going to stop for a moment and just see if there are any questions you'd like to ask me. Yes, Kathy.
In line with what you were saying today, when you were receiving the medallion last month, you talked about being a servant leader, and that really ties into your conversation today. Can you talk about your philosophy of being a servant leader?
Right, so a servant leader is somebody who really removes the obstacles for others. And, you know, there's so many leaders out there who believe that they should just be the leader. That leadership is to just show people the way. But if you're really a true leader, your job is to serve other people. Your job is to remove the obstacles so other people can lead the way for their people. And so if you're at the top of an organization, you really have to be the one who makes it easy for others to do their jobs. And the best thing you can do is pick the best people and let them do their jobs. And it's not about you. You know, and like in my office, my secretary is not my secretary, she's my boss practically. If Camille says I can't do something, I can't do it. Like next like next week, somebody said to me, can you go to Washington to do so-and-so? She said, no, you cannot do it. You know, Sally, you know that, right? And Lynette, I mean, you know, you really have to make it easy for the people around you to do what they need to do. And so, I mean, there are some companies that I will not do search work for, because when I am convincing somebody to go to work for a company, I'm changing their lives. I have to believe that that leader of that company is a good leader. And if I don't believe that he or she is, I am not going to convince that candidate to go work for that company. So therefore, I will not do search work for some companies. It's not that I don't think that they're moral. Maybe they aren't, I don't know. But if I don't think that they're good leaders at the top, I'm not going to do work for them. So I really look for leaders who are great role models and are great leaders of people. And you know, there's a lot of talk on the street about when people leave a company, about what the leader is like. I listen to that. I talk to a lot of people. I know a lot about a lot of companies, and I listen to the talk on the street. And those are the companies I do work for. And there's some fabulous companies out there. Yeah. Okay, the students from Tibby School of Business. You had so many questions before.
I'm curious to hear, so you mentioned we talked a little bit about our goals earlier. I'm curious what your goals are going forward with the university.
That's great. So my goals going forward are to continue to focus on some philanthropic efforts that I have. This Women on Boards is a really significant goal of mine. In November 21st at the New York Stock Exchange, the Women's Forum of New York, we are going to host a breakfast of corporate champions. We're honoring 182 of the Fortune 500 companies across the country that have at least 20% women on their boards. And 182 is not good enough, but 182 of the Fortune 500, the 20% or more women on the boards is getting there. We have a panel of CEOs that are going to talk about the importance of women on boards. We have Jeff Immelt of GE. We have Roger Ferguson of TIAA-CREF. We have Steve Kandarian of MetLife. We have Terry Lundgren of Macy's. We have Ellen Coleman of DuPont, and we have Deanna Mulligan of Guardian. They are going to speak about the importance of women on boards. And we have Judy Woodruff of Washington, D.C. Anchor, who's going to be the moderator. And I'm going to be hosting it, and we're going to get some great press. And these CEOs are going to be talking about how other companies need to get into their league. And so that's going to be a major initiative, and we have NACD and CED, Commission of Economic Development, who are in partnership with us. So we're not a woman's group out there, a lone voice. We have major male groups saying this is what needs to change. So that's going to be a major effort that I'm going to be spearheading going forward. I'm going to continue to work with the University of Iowa. They're not getting rid of me. And other women's leadership initiatives. Also, we're going to continue to grow our business internationally. We have an international initiative that we have with other search firms overseas. And some people have asked me to write another book. I don't think I'm going to do that unless my ladies from the School of Public Health want to do it with me, because I think I need I need co-authors. But yes, sir.
For you, or kind of make a statement. What would you tell a CEO or CEOs who don't have enough women representation on their board or in their executive ranks? Why should they?
Because it's a business imperative. If you look at your workforce, you look at your shareholders, you look at your consumers, and you look at your investors. If you want to reflect the four-legged stool, who are they? 50% of the population are women. Your employees are women. Your shareholders are women. Your investor group, everybody. So how could you not When Urban Outfitters refused to put a woman on the board, I thought, what are they talking about? Who's buying there, you know? So I think women oftentimes should do a boycott. They shouldn't, a boycott. They shouldn't buy from certain companies. But I mean, it's a business imperative, and the enlightened companies get it. They understand that it's just foolish not to. It's a competitive advantage. And overseas, you have quotas. So in Norway, 44% of those boards have women because they put it into law. In France, they put it into law. In Italy, they put it into law. Australia has a strong mandate. So 18 countries have a mandate or a quota system. The UK has a 30% target by 2015. It doesn't make business sense not to reflect your population. Look at this room. Why wouldn't you? So I believe diversity in general. I think diversity for women is 50% of the population, but I think age, I think we need younger board members. I think we need national origin. I think diversity in general, but I think diversity with gender is just a natural. Yes?
With graduation coming up in less than 3 weeks, could you give a piece of advice to all the girls, including myself, to step into the real world? I mean, what are the challenges out there, and what will we do to prepare ourselves to pursue our career?
The challenges out there for
girls,
for women. In terms of getting a position, or in terms of life in general, or?
Well, challenges for women in the workplace and what we can do to prepare ourselves for that.
Oh, okay. Well, how long do we have? You know, I think there excuse me. I think there are challenges in the workplace because, thank you. You know, Professor Fletcher of Simmons College said a while ago, sorry gentlemen, please excuse me for this, but the John Wayne image dies slowly. So we've had a command and control sort of way of operating in business. And you know, I used to work at Citibank, and this was terrible, but at 7:30 at night we'd be having meetings on a Friday evening. And you know, that's really kind of, it was FaceTime. So the world is changing. Some of it should be virtual, but a lot of times it is about FaceTime. So I think it's going to change, but it's going to change slowly. And I think that the challenges are always about having open dialogues with your boss, and I think more transparency. And I think the more we have greater diversity in general in companies and more open dialogue, the better it will be. And I think if you can have greater honesty with your boss about issues and better communications, the better it will be. I think going into better work cultures, the better it will be. But there are challenges, particularly Wall Street. I have to tell you, Wall Street is tougher on women still. So call me when you get to New York. You know, I don't think it's easy for men either. I think there are challenges for everybody in today's world. So I don't want to make this sound sexist at all. I think it's a tough world. Information comes at you, you know, with lightning speed. It's hard to absorb it all. I think life is tougher today than it was, you know, when I was growing up. But I think but I'm still in the work world, so it's tough. But you know, I think it's really one where you just roll with the punches, and I think you have to have a good sense of humor. I do. I think you have to let a lot roll off your back. Right, Tom? You have to go in with a smile. I mean, I look for candidates, I'll tell you this, I look for candidates who are authentic. I look for candidates who are highly enthusiastic. I look for candidates who are hardworking, because it is hardworking. You know, in today's world, you cannot just say, oh, you know, I'm entitled to it. I had a candidate the other day, I'll tell you this, he's not being presented. So he was waiting 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. And he said to my receptionist, as she went to get him, and our receptionist is really good, and she's a screen for us, and so is my assistant. he said to my receptionist, well, she kept me waiting. And so he finished his phone call. Well, she kept me waiting. And my receptionist told me that. That was not a good thing for him to say. And then as I was interviewing him, he just said some things that were like, inappropriate. So I look for people who have a high EQ. They know their audience. They understand what the other person may think about what they're saying. They're aware, they're self-aware, and they understand that the other person may take offense to what they're saying. So people need to be aware of their audience. They need to basically be out there in a positive way, and they need to recognize that it's not about them. If you always want to take the credit, you're not going to make it. You should be giving the credit to the other people, because you'll shine. And those are the candidates that are going to make it, and those are the ones that are going to rise up, because they're going to let the light shine on other people. You're going to let your people shine. You're going to let your people be shown to the upper people in the organization. And those are the candidates that are going to make it. But enthusiasm, intelligence, energy, I can always pull somebody back. I can never push them ahead. I need people who want to go ahead. And you make a mistake, you go into the penalty box a little bit, but that's okay, right? You can always pull somebody back. But they're doing it in good faith, and you're smart about it. You take calculated risks. Yes?
Janice, you've been very generous to the university. Can you talk a little bit about some of your inspiration and motivation behind the reasons for your giving and why you choose to support some of the things you choose to support at the university?
So I support the College of Business because that's where I got my degree. I support the College of Public Health because that's where my sister got her degree. And the Children's Hospital is because I have an affinity for the whole medical system and having started there in that area. And then just overall, I also don't want to totally restrict funds. I want to be able to give, But the other piece about giving is, again, when you've not grown up with a lot of money, but then you've been able to make some money. I mean, how many cars, how many houses, how many this, how many that do you really need in your life, right? So I like nice things, and I want to have nice things, and I want to leave things to family and friends. There are people that have affected my life, impact my life, that I'm going to leave to who are not family members. But then I want to leave to people that touched my lives that I may never know, right? But I want a legacy that goes beyond me. And I think when I look at people who have far more, so you look at Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, right? They have a lot of money. And they're giving a lot of money away. And they have reached out to the Giving Pledge. So they have 69 very, very, very wealthy people. And they've got this group growing to give and to make the planet better. I give them a lot of credit for doing that, because how many houses can they have? And can you put a check in your pocket when you go? Right? So I think all of us give at a certain level to our means. So I give according to my means. And there are people in this room have given far more, and they give to their means. But it makes them feel really, really good, because you can only leave so much to family, and you want to leave it to this great university so that we can leave it to generations to come. Tippy College of Business, Patricia and Henry, look what they've done. The Tippy students, listening to the Tippy students today, I'm amazed. But then there's Dance Marathon, listening to the Dance Marathon students who have committed $5 million to the Children's Hospital. They're dancing 24 hours. I can't dance 15 minutes. Right? So everybody gives because it makes you feel good. And it also helps your cholesterol. Helps your stress level. I mean, who doesn't feel better when you've given? The Dalai Lama professes, clearly that when you don't give, it doesn't make you feel good at all. In fact, it hurts you. It hinders your lifestyle. So it's proven, by many studies that we really live longer, we feel better. Everything about our being is better because we give. So I just think once you've done it, you just feel better and better. Right, Tom? You've done it. The board of directors at the University of Iowa Foundation, I look around and everybody there has just been so generous. Lynette's going to go through the giving on Friday night, and it's amazing. So, in fact, Tom told me a statistic. Oh, we are out of time. 359,000 students. I think that's right, Tom, unless you got that wrong. Did you get that wrong, Tom? So, if I'm wrong, he's wrong. Since the university started, graduated. So if 359,000 students graduated, if everybody who graduated or their ancestors gave $100, we would have $35,900,000 given to the University of Iowa. Just $100. Isn't that amazing? So just $100, we'd have $35,900,000. So Tom, let's start collecting. So that's just, it is the joy of giving, and I think that everybody feels that. Really, you do feel better giving than receiving. Thank you. That was wonderful.
Janice, thank you so much for your inspirational words, for your wonderful talk, and for joining us today on Phil's Day. I would also like to thank everyone who came out this afternoon and all of those who are participating in Phil's Day activities, as well as the UI Foundation board members who are with us today. I think you can now see how important it is for a generous donor to share her story directly with us, as Janice has done this afternoon. It makes a big difference in terms of how we think about our own lives and about what the future holds for so many of the young people in this room. Philanthropy is about real people, both donors and beneficiaries, and about real impacts that it makes on people's lives. As Janice has shared with us, her dedication to the University of Iowa is about improving our institution and doing everything that she can to help us offer to students, faculty, staff, the community, and the world the highest quality education, the most cutting-edge research and creative work, and the most effective and impactful service to society possible. Now, from a personal perspective, philanthropy has, as Janice has shown us, is not about recognition. It's about the personal rewards that come from seeing what people achieve when they're given the opportunity. Philanthropy makes those opportunities happen. And that's why many in this room, as I look around, I know are engaged in philanthropy in many different ways. Our university is a much, much better place because of Janice and people like her, those who share their talents, their vision, their leadership, and their passion, as well as their resources. So as we close today's Life with Phil event, please, along with me, think about the meaning of Phil's Day. Think about and be grateful to all the alumni and friends of the university who are donors, making gifts to better your education or your work here at the university. And think about the important role that giving back can and does or will play in your own life with Phil.